Hey, Nadia.
Hello.
Hello. So now you're in Boston, and I'm back in the Bay Area, or still here in the Bay Area. And it's your first week of your second year of college,
hmm
Northeastern. How are you doing?
I'm good. I feel like I'm getting back in my school groove. I was here pretty recently, so I feel like nothing has really changed going back to normal. It's just really extremely hot outside, but I have AC, so it's okay.
You're so lucky that
um,
you have air conditioning.
yeah, really, really lucky. It is like 99% humidity outside in 90 degrees, so really not the most comfortable situation if you don't have a cool room.
Oh, that's terrible. Actually, that sounds terrible to me. But does that mean that most of you guys are staying indoors most of the day?
For the most part, yeah, unless you want to go like actually roast outside. A lot of my friends will come to our room since we have the AC. So
Does every room in your building have air conditioning?
in my building, yeah, but not all the dorms. So not all the buildings, but in my building they do.
Oh my gosh, you are so lucky. So,
Mm.
you were saying that you feel like things are back to normal, and because you're back in your dorms. And I'm curious, now that it's your second year of school, are you feeling like school is home? And when you come home to us, to the family, that's like a trip
hmm
away?
Um, I feel like I'm in that transition. It doesn't quite feel like that yet, but I definitely think that it will. I just, I think it's easier to be here than home for like, I don't know, like for having a schedule kind of purpose. Because when I'm home, I'm not really doing anything. And it's kind of up to me to like decide my day. But when I'm at school, like I have class, I have this, I'm going to the gym, I'm eating dinner, I have like a meeting. So in that way, it feels like a little bit easier to manage, but that does mean I have a way busier schedule.
Hmm. So, as far as your schedule, you're mostly going to school. Are you planning on working this semester?
I had a job last semester and over the summer when I was here over the summer, and I was considering it. But I feel like I may not go back. I worked at a grocery store, which is like a pretty easy job. It's not very like intense, and I'm kind of doing my own thing the whole time. I'm not really talking to anybody else except for customers. But I do feel a kind like an urge to kind of um, make a make a person for myself at Northeastern itself. And if I have a job, that means that I probably won't have the time to like go to certain club meetings or go to the gym and meet with my friends and meet new people at the gym or like go to um, an event that is being hosted on campus. So I'm still deciding, but we'll
Yeah.
see.
Make money versus make kind of like memories or find a community, a larger community, or be part of the larger
Right,
community at Northeastern. Yeah. So
right. And
tell
I
me
feel
a little,
like,
go ahead.
well, I was just gonna say like I obviously I need the money, but I will be going on co-op next semester, so in that sense, if I just save my money now, like if I don't necessarily need to be spending a lot of money. It's just good to have like the extra stuff, but I don't know. We'll see.
I guess for our listeners, in case they don't know what co op means, why don't you describe what it is?
So I go to Northeastern, and a big part of Northeastern is this co-op program where most students will do two in their 4 or 5 years in college. It's basically like a 6 month internship. Um, and most people do it at a company or hospital or whatever it has to do with your major, but it'll be in Boston, but you can't do it abroad or in a different state. You just have to kind of um, go against, I think I haven't actually started my co-op class yet, but I think there's like a website. I don't know, some sort of thing that helps you put together a resume and your applications and apply to all these different places. But if you're going to another state or you want to go abroad, that's something you have to do on your own, and it won't necessarily be through Northeastern. But yeah, I haven't gone to my first co-op class yet, which will like teach me
Prepare
about the
you.
process. So I can probably talk about it at a later date.
Yeah. I got actually like chills as you listened or as you said it. I got not chills. I didn't get chills. I got like butterflies in my stomach as you were talking about it. I'm super excited
Hmm.
for you to do all of those things. I think
Yeah.
because I know that throughout high school you didn't have a lot of work experience because you spent 20 hours a week
Right.
doing gymnastics, and
Hmm.
I'm excited that you're going to get real world experience while you're kind of like a little bit sheltered as a student, you know? And so
Right.
that when you come out of school, you're going to have like resume things to put on your resume, and hopefully those
Right.
experiences will help you
Exactly.
figure out what you want to do after college. I'm really
Hmm.
actually, as we were talking about it, even more excited about it than I was like, when you were starting school. So that's really cool.
Right. It, yeah, it'll help me like either decide what I want to do or what I know I don't want to do, which is kind of helpful because I'm kind of in this stage of I really don't know. So we'll see.
Right. Okay, so as far as finding yourself as a Northeastern student,
Mm.
I'm I'm thinking that this semester is different for you compared to last semester, because your first year of college was going directly to Greece instead of the Northeastern Boston campus.
Right.
And so, going abroad as an 18-year-old is just like a task in itself, And so
Right.
that took up a lot of time. And also, wanting to find community and a home for yourself in Greece was not really necessary because you knew you were only going to be there for 3 or 4 months, right? So
Right. Right.
now that you're settling into Boston, like what kinds of things are you doing to like find community at Boston?
Well, what I really think like the transition made, well, starting from Greece, like you said, it was hard. It wasn't really like we were gonna make ourselves like find a community in Greece because we were only there for 3 months. It was more like try to get comfortable and take advantage of like the opportunities that you have before like it gets harder to do that. And then I feel like last semester, um the spring semester of last year, I definitely there were a lot of times in Greece where didn't feel really comfortable, or I felt like a combination of like homesick and just like being in a new country. So I think me and probably a lot of my friends too like took last semester to kind of like feel settled and comfortable and like find like really spend time with the friends that we made in Greece. And I personally tried to join like clubs and stuff during that semester, but I feel like I tried for like those few months just to like get used to being a college student in the United States, like on like in the school that I'm going to be at for the next 4 years or 5 years. So like joining clubs, going to club meetings almost felt like an extra thing that I didn't want to do. So it would kind of take like like wouldn't be the biggest priority. In the sense that I would like want to go to dinner with my friends at the dining hall or go to the gym, in place of going to that club meeting, because it kind of felt like I'd be missing out on something if I was going to that club. But I think coming to campus this semester, I definitely have a new perspective just because like I feel more comfortable on campus and my friends have like friend group and like that's kind of settled down, and I um, am a lot more interested. Me and my friends are a lot more interested in getting really into all the clubs that we're interested in. Um, and so before school started on Wednesday, and today's Friday, so I've only had 3 days of school. But before that, on Tuesday, there was a club fair, and with like literally every single, I'm assuming almost every club on campus. All so there was a lot of different tables to go to. There was a lot of people. It was very crowded. Um, and although it was, I guess, mostly for the freshmen, uh, I took the time to go with my friends just to kind of like reintroduce myself to the clubs that are on campus, and also to see like if there were clubs that I missed. And because we did have a club fair like that last semester,
In
but it
January,
was indoors.
when you moved into Boston in
What'd you
January.
say?
When you moved into Boston in January, there was a club fair for people settling in
Yeah, there was
January.
a club fair. Yeah, it was indoors 'cause it was really cold. So, and this one was outdoors. So, and we were spread out all through campus. So, if you can imagine, like all these different clubs crammed into like, I mean, a big building, but like it was just really crowded and very overwhelming. So, it wasn't necessarily like you. I guess you wouldn't have found like all the clubs you wanted to go to because it was a very overwhelming experience. Um, but this time it was overwhelming, but because it was hot and there was still a lot of people, but I was able to go to a whole different bunch of tables. And it was just interesting to see like the different groups of people on campus and talk to a lot of people that are really passionate about their club and what they do. So that was really fun. And I think that I haven't gone to like a first club meeting yet, but um, it should be fun.
I seem to remember in college, which was so many years ago, that sometimes when you would
Mm.
approach a club table, um, it was really clear that the people that were all there together telling you about their club were friends with each other. And
Right,
if you're lucky enough, you go to a club table with one of your friends, so you feel like kind of safe and confident, but
right,
it's like you're
right,
walking into somebody else's home or somebody else's friend group, and you're almost saying,
right,
"Hi, tell me about your club, and can I be friends with you?" And it's like
right,
kind of this awkward moment, like where, like that they're like checking out to see if you would be someone that they'd be excited to welcome into their club. And
mhm,
you're doing the same thing, looking at them, how
right,
they interact with each other, almost like however you judge a group of people to determine whether or not you would want to hang out with them more. You might be looking at how they talk, what kind of music's playing in the
right,
background, what kind of
right.
like clothes they're wearing, right? And so, like, do you look like
Yeah,
them? Like whether, yeah, do you look like them by clothing or by just like your
right.
appearance? And so it's not
Yeah.
just about like the club and what they do, but also about the people that are representing the club. Um,
Hmm. Yeah. Which I think
that's what I
is
remember. Is
it,
that your experience too?
yeah. I think it's definitely the same way now. I think like it's hard because you almost feel like you're going up to the table not to like judge them, but like I mean, making friends in general is hard because you're just analyzing every part of that person just to see if you would get along with them, and like not in like a bad way. It's just you're gonna look at every part of like at this club fair, you're gonna look at every part of their table, the way that their poster is like designed, the way that they're like decided to approach you, the tone of their voice. It's like it's a lot, and I think a lot of people felt left the club fair feeling like one, like there's a lot of new clubs for me to join, but also a little bit of stress and a little bit of like that was really intimidating, and I don't know if I'm gonna join. But like I ended up talking to one like a pre med fraternity and also sororities, and already um like approaching the table like hesitant, very hesitant. Um, it was definitely like very intimidating talking to people that are obviously very passionate about their sorority or their frat. So I think, yeah, I feel like that experience is a universal experience on college
Yeah.
campuses.
It's almost like you're looking at them going, "Oh my gosh, you're so passionate about this. Is that going to be me? Like, can I be this passionate about what you're
Right,
talking about? Do I want to be that person?" Yeah.
right.
Um, but I guess you got to understand that that's their job at the table is to give you the positive stuff
Mm,
and show their enthusiasm.
mm,
Because it would be weird to say, I love this club, but also here's some things that I don't like about it. Like you have no choice but to
right,
kind of be really enthusiastic about it when you're
right.
working the table. So, what is the timeline on that? Like, are you now that there's been a club fair and like how does that work? So there's a club fair. Do you give them your email address? Do you follow them on Instagram? Like, what's the
Um,
process of like now that you've seen the clubs? What happens next?
yeah. So a lot of them had interest forms where you put your email down and your name. Instagram handles were there too. It's just like harder to. It's easier to just write your name down and have them contact you rather than like you find them. But they definitely put their social media out. Um, I'm not sure if any like clubs have had their first meeting yet, but I know that on Monday, this next Monday, I have like three different, maybe four different like meetings that are also like around the same time. Of no, it's three meetings on Monday, one meeting on Tuesday. Of like different clubs that like of their first meeting, which is I guess maybe not necessarily getting right into things, but just like introducing the club. So next week is definitely gonna be like the start of it all. But most of the clubs meet once a week. They all have like a faculty advisor, and they meet like in some not usually like a classroom, but there are like I guess makeshift classrooms in some of the dorm buildings. So they'll be there, or actually I don't know, maybe in the library, um but yeah, so after next week I'll probably be at a few different club meetings a week, but we'll see.
Um, do they provide like some other incentive to get you there? Like we're going to provide food, or are some people incentivized because they're like, oh, I
Um,
really like that faculty advisor. I want to like join the club because I want to do research with that faculty advisor. Like I imagine there's like okay, there's like the
like,
club and what the club does, and then there's
mm,
the people. Like, do you want to be friends with them? And then there's the like faculty advisor. Um,
right.
yeah,
The faculty advisor isn't always like, um,
hands
what's
on.
the word? Like promoted. Like they don't usually. I don't know if they. I That's not like the first thing you look at, but later on that could be a reason why you keep going to the club. As far as like food, sometimes they give you food. Um, but I think they're kind of betting on the fact that someone's gonna go if they really want to go. And so it's kind of like weeding people out. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
sometimes you like write your name on an interest form, but you don't really want to go. So if I think based like I don't know, it's like a just like unsaid like kind of weeding out process
Mhm.
happens over the course of a few days. But yeah.
All right. I'm excited to find out what you end up joining. And this whole conversation about finding your place in Northeastern is kind of like I'm doing my own community finding.
Right.
And I definitely have my community of friends and workmates and things like that. But recently I've been thinking about the idea of throwing a retreat. And in the process of developing a retreat, one of my steps is
Mm-hmm.
to participate in a retreat, and I find myself kind of like you at the club fair. Like I look at this website of the retreat and think to myself, "Wow, that they sound really into this exploration they're doing, and I don't know if I'm
Right.
going to really fit in." Like we are going to talk about our feelings and our goals, and we're going to,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is that the retreat offers, whatever vibe it is, like, um, you know, get in touch with earth, with nature, or um, find community amongst other women, or whatever it is. I feel like slightly hesitant, like,
Mm-hmm.
do I want to be a part of that?
Right.
It's like a little bit
Right.
scary because you feel like you're about to like dive into something that you're not sure
You're
you're gonna
unsure
like.
about. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Um, so there's that. And I'm also like, I was inspired by a podcast that I listened to a couple days ago. Um, there's a podcast. Oh my gosh, I can't remember the name now, but I listened to it because Lucy, your younger sister, is her podcast
Mm-hmm.
is she's going to have an interview on there, and I listened to the first episode, and it was about a person that was interviewed was a professor, Dr. Allison Tintianco Kubales, and the person that was interviewing her was a student that she had 20 years ago, and
Mm-hmm.
one of the most significant impacts that the professor had on the student was to help that student feel like they were part of a greater community where her
Mm-hmm.
interests and her just like herself was welcome, where she didn't necessarily feel that prior, or she was looking for that. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think about how, somebody 20 years later still remembers the impact somebody made on them. And that specific impact
Right.
was like belonging, right? And a feeling of belonging.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I'm hoping for you to find that. And I feel like you're lucky in that for the past 3 years, maybe students didn't get that as much because of
Right. Right.
the COVID restrictions. It was like a little bit harder to
Mm.
find opportunities to interact with students face to face.
Totally.
Yeah. So you could get tasks done, like you
Yeah.
could still fulfill the goals of a club, but you didn't really get to like be with other humans in person as much. So
Right.
I think it's really great that you get to do that.
Like clubs and retreats. I'm not really even sure how it all worked over COVID, but I thinking about how I felt during that time, which is very different from being in college, but like I feel like if I was a college student at that time, I would feel less inclined to go to club meetings and all this stuff because one, meeting on Zoom isn't very personal. You're not really getting to know people. It's easier to like multitask and not really pay attention. It's just not it's not the same. So yeah, I feel bad. I feel bad for the students that had to go through that, but I think that in the past last year and this year, I think it's kind of making up for the, I guess, those who were in college in 2020. So, like, I think they get to live what they didn't get to have before.
Hmm. One last question, which is probably not the greatest place to end, so maybe it'll bring us to someplace else. I'm picturing you at this club fair, and you're so lucky that you were with your friends, um,
Right.
like friends that you made in Greece. And I'm wondering if there were
Yeah.
people walking around without a friend group, looking kind of like a little bit lost and, yeah, like maybe uncomfortable and trying
I
to find
mean,
space for themselves.
I, there were definitely people like that there. I wasn't necessarily paying attention. There was just a lot of people. There was always someone at a table in your front, like that you were looking at. Like most tables were just full. Um, so if you were by yourself, it's easy to like. It was easy to do it like I guess secretly. I don't know if that's the right word, but like if you didn't want to really be noticed but still want to try to make friends, it wasn't like very obvious that, oh, they're walking by themselves and they're trying to find friends because they haven't like quite made it any yet. And so I think, I don't know, I guess maybe it was the way that it was outside. There's a lot of kids that go to Northeastern, so it's easy to blend into the crowd a little bit, and also easy to introduce yourself to other people because if you go up to a table, they're gonna be like, "Oh, hi, my name is blah blah," blah," and you can be like next to someone that you don't know at that table, introduce yourself to them, that sort of thing. But yeah, there's definitely people that like try to find friends through that, and I honestly probably feel like that's like the best way to do it, is through the clubs and like the club meetings. So
All right. Well, have a good weekend. And I'm not sure if we're going to talk about it next week, but at some point, I'd love to hear about
we'll
how it's
see.
going with the clubs. All right.
Yeah, I can give update and a co-op update once I finally go to my first class. But yeah.